You read the description, so let's get into it. I'm Hay, and today I'll be reviewing my least favorite film of 2019. So far, The Art of Self-Defense. The Art of Self-Defense comes to us from Riley Stearns and stars Jesse Eisenberg in what I thought was supposed to be a comedy. I'll get this started early in saying this movie isn't funny in any way, shape, or form. It's some of the most exhausting dialogue I've heard in a long time. It's in this purposeful hollowness that I just can't feel any sort of emotion with this film. I was expecting this to be a cute little indie that was about how our views on what it means to be strong are so flawed, but it never does anything remotely close to that. Now, those are just bad expectations that I set. However, even ignoring those, I still detest this project. Look at any sort of progression of this story and you'll see just how perplexing it is that this even got approved. Also, none of the characters in this story are worth rooting for at all. The best actor in this film is the Dachshund, and he's really doing his best he can with such a horrendous script. I get it's a dark comedy, but when your jokes don't land, it's just dark, which leads to such a negative over-the-topness that I could never get on board with. And don't even get me started on Jesse Eisenberg. He is such a wooden, trying to be quirky character that has nothing at all to him. He's just weird for the sake of being weird, and that has nothing attached with that. The only time I felt anything towards this character is when he got beat up at the start, which was immediately lost on me as the progression went further. Following this, there's a scene where our protagonist tries to buy a gun, and it's the most ridiculous "see, we're being cheeky" scene I've ever seen, and devoid of any cleverness that could be comedic or an intelligent statement. Also, speaking of statements, this film does a terribly awful job at making one on masculinity or male rage or anything that multiple articles praise it for exploring. When the world is so different than the one we're accustomed to, then it literally can't say anything. Its messaging is so lost on me. To me, this is the movie that people who want to hate on Fight Club think Fight Club is. This world it depicts is just such a gruesome one. And yeah, that may be the point, but I found that almost all of it is just so uninteresting. I'll probably need to delve a little bit more into spoilers, so I'll wrap this up and get to those shortly. Anyway, The Art of Self-Defense fails at having anything to it and literally just exists as a film.
Everything should be as masculine as possible. You may want to start on those reports. That pilot's getting awfully high.
I'm giving The Art of Self-Defense a 0.2 out of 10. This lacks any sort of direction and purpose and actively made me more frustrated than I already was. Say what you will about bad films, but at least things like Room, Ratatouille, and Troll 2 know what films they are. Anyway, I have to go into spoilers for this, so if you want to check this out after my ringing endorsement, don't listen after this point. The biggest thing that upset me so much is that the dog is killed in this movie. I know that seems like an oddball thing, and I understand films can do that, but just the way they go about this movement and the way the character progresses after this point is ridiculous. And I just love the dog. I love the dog. He's the only character that's so pure and lovely. And you know what? This film didn't deserve that dachshund. The dachshund was too good for The Art of Self-Defense, okay? The dojo master is just such a scum in the worst way possible. It's not indicative to the male population. Also, he literally has a boss. He has a boss that's great to him. He's an amazing person to him. And maybe this movie's trying to say, oh, hey, if you get caught up in toxic masculinity, maybe, sure. But it does so in such an ugly, ugly way that isn't truthful. It doesn't have any sort of symbolism or importance of it that's just so cringy and, it's awful. The dialogue is some of the most wooden and cringy humor that I've ever seen. There's literally, Jesse Eisenberg just says, hello, I would like to buy a belt. And then the guy's like, ooh, that's a great idea, Jesse. And he's like, yellow belt, yellow belt, yellow belt. It's screenwriting. Screenwriting is so awful in this movie. Like, I can't understand how this was even approved by anyone. I get I've already said that before, but this is such a horrendous script. And also, what's the point of the scene at the end? What are you trying to say when you're like, hey, don't worry, this guy kills the master, and he did it with a gun, and he's like, I'm still alive. That's all that matters. Like, you're still, violence begets violence, and this movie is just lost on me. I don't understand why people like this. I don't get it. The Lighthouse, I understand. I completely got that one, but this, infuriating and absolutely exhausting, and oh god. Anyway, I've been dealing with a lot of personal stuff lately, and it's kind of been overwhelming the past couple of months. And maybe I'm being too harsh on this because it was just a big collection of all that's happening in the background. Film is such a beautiful escape for me, and I love when it can depict meaningful stories and relationships that sweep me up in the filmmaking magic. Art of Self-Defense really wasn't for me. Some people like it, so it's quite possible I'm in the minority on this one, but this is a stinky wet fart for me. So if you like the Art of Self-Defense, feel free to let me know, but I really cannot recommend this any less than a film can be recommended. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I know this film already came out, so yeah, that's it. Check out our other reviews. Very, very much more positive on all the others. So check those out. Thanks. Bye.